Hey everyone, I'm Janessa,
And I'm Michael.
and this is the Little Farm That Could.
Today we're going to walk into our greenhouse, our winter production greenhouse, and show you our spinach. Let's
Come on.
take a look.
So we're in southern Ontario in Campbellford, and sometimes in the winter this greenhouse can hit temperatures of -25. And so this is our spinach crop, and we keep this spinach in here from September through March before we plant our tomatoes in here. And we don't even need to heat this greenhouse because spinach is so hardy it can actually withstand the minus temperatures. What we find is that in the earlier parts of its growth, you can take about 2 to 3 leaves per plant, and then when January comes, it's really the lack of daylight that only allows you to take about 1 leaf from each plant at a time. And then as soon as the sun comes back, February through March, the plants actually start to revive themselves and produce way more leaves again, which makes the harvest bountiful again.
This greenhouse here is 100 feet long and it's 30 feet wide, and we were able to fit 7 beds inside of it. Our beds are 30 inches and the walkways range between, I'd say, 12 to 16 inches. Each bed of spinach that was planted has 4 rows, and we planted the spinach this year 6 inch on the row.
So today we're doing a spinach harvest for an outlet called the Homegrown Hamper. And the Homegrown Hamper is a local outlet in Campbellford, Trent Hills area in southern Ontario, where a lady named Kim puts together items from different producers, farmers, and other small businesses, and people can order these items online, and then she puts together their boxes. So this week we have a great order from the hamper of spinach, and we're going to be showing you our technique of harvesting that.
Irrigation in the greenhouse is dependent on what crop we're growing. Here for spinach, it started off with overhead irrigation, and this is a wobbler. It's called a Dan Fast and Fast, and it's provided by Dubois. We set them up at 5-foot intervals, and it's able to cover 3 feet on, or 3 beds, on either side of it. That's also dependent on your water pressure. This is great for when the crops start out. It provides water evenly on the bed when they're seedlings. As the spinach matures and the temperature gets cooler, we use less wobblers and we start to turn on the drip tape if it's needed. With the amount of condensation in the greenhouse that builds up on the poly and actually drops back down to the ground, we find that as we go into the winter, we don't use nearly as much irrigation as when we did in the fall. If we get 3 or 4 days of full sun, we may turn on the wobblers and the drip tape. If it's a week where it was the majority cloud cover, usually the beds are fine and we don't turn on the irrigation. But it's all dependent on many factors, and the best way to do it, to see if the bed needs water, is to put your finger in roughly about up to your knuckle here and just feel. And if you can condense a ball with it and the soil stays firm into the shape, we don't water.
So this is our harvest technique for spinach. When we first started growing spinach, we were cutting it leaf by leaf with a knife, which gives it a super clean cut and makes it look gorgeous in the bag. However, because spinach is so thick and hardy, to move faster up and down the beds, you can actually pick it with your index finger and your thumb, unlike some other greens that we do that are a bit more tender. So if you want to come over here, I'll show you exactly how we do this technique. So I'm going to grab, and usually we use 2 hands at a time, I'm going to grab 2 leaves of spinach with my index finger and my thumb, and then I'm just going to snip. And then usually what I'll do is I'll grab a few leaves at a time. So instead of going like this, using the motion into the bin, to save that motion and save your body over the long term, you pick a few leaves at a time until your hands are full And then you can fill the bin. And you want to make sure that you get the least amount of stem as possible. People are more interested in the leaf than they are filling a bag with stems. So that's my handfuls. And this one, I felt myself pull a bit too much stem. So you can imagine if you filled a bag full of these, you would have quite a bit of stem in there. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll just snip it with my finger, throw it in. So I wanted to mention that with not heating the greenhouse, this greenhouse actually isn't a double layer of poly, it's a single layer. And we found success with a single layer of poly. However, in our smaller greenhouse, we do have a double layer of poly, and we've done spinach in there through the winter and also seen success. So really, this is the type of crop that you can do either way.
Okay, so now we're in our processing room where we have our spinach harvested in our cooler, and we're going to be putting it into our sinks, and we're going to use a bubbler to agitate the water and get all the dirt particles off and the sand. Then we're going to put it into a spinner here. It's like a giant salad spinner, and then it's going to make its way to the portioning section. So this is our pre-wash. It's just a rinse, and this helps get a lot of the dirt or the compost off of the leaves. And we're transferring it over to the second sink. And in this sink here, we use a disinfectant called Sanidate, which is going to help protect from anything that may get somebody sick, and it is listed on the OMRI Review Institute for Organic Products. Then transfer it into the basket before it goes into the spinner. Alright, and after we bubble it, we're going to put it in the spinner. This helps get most of the water off the leaves. And once it's finished spinning, a lot of the water has left the leaf. We put it in our basket. And then this basket comes over here. And then this is where we portion into our bags. We'll take turns until we get it.
Thanks for watching our video on how we harvest and process spinach into these bags, and this is our final product here.
Take care everyone, and we'll see you soon.